I believe that people have the propensity to be bad when they are born.
Arizona woman charged with trying to murder her husband by allegedly poisoning his coffee.
A mother begging for our help to find her sons, only to discover she locked them into their car seats and then rolled her car into a lake in Union County.
Behind the facade of love and companionship, dark secrets can lurk. These chilling tales expose the devastating consequences of betrayal, as women, once trusted confidants, become architects of deception and violence. From the quietude of a Kerala village to the bustling streets of American cities, these real-life stories unveil the horrifying acts of individuals driven by greed, jealousy, or a twisted sense of power. Join us as we delve into the darkest corners of human nature, where the lines between love and hate blur, and the consequences of unchecked desires are laid bare. Curry and Cyanide. The quietude of Kudathayi, a quaint village nestled in the heart of Kerala, India, was shattered by a chilling truth. Jolly Joseph, a woman who seemed to embody the picture of an ideal daughter-in-law, was at the center of a horrifying tale of deceit and murder. Her story begins with her marriage to Roy Thomas, a man from a respectable family. Behind her composed exterior, however, lurked a sinister plot. She yearned for the family's wealth and the freedom to pursue her own desires, which included a secret relationship with a man named Shaju. The first victim was Roy himself, who mysteriously passed away in 2011. The cause of death was initially attributed to natural causes, but this was just the beginning. Over the next few years, a series of deaths followed, each more inexplicable than the last. Her mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and even her own 2-year-old nephew became victims of her deadly scheme. Jolly, a master manipulator, expertly crafted a narrative to conceal her crimes. She portrayed herself as a grieving widow, a devoted daughter-in-law, and a loving aunt. She meticulously planned each murder, ensuring that no suspicion fell upon her. She used cyanide, a potent poison, to silently eliminate her targets, often mixing it with their food. The veil of innocence began to unravel when Renji, Roy's sister, started questioning the unusual circumstances surrounding the deaths. She noticed inconsistencies in the official explanations and began to dig deeper. Her persistence led her to uncover a web of lies and deceit, culminating in the shocking revelation of Jolly's crimes. The police investigation that followed was a meticulous unraveling of a complex puzzle. They meticulously examined the evidence, including medical reports and witness testimonies. As the pieces fell into place, the horrifying truth emerged. Jolly Joseph, the seemingly perfect woman, was revealed as a cold-blooded killer. The trial that followed was a gripping drama, with the prosecution painting a chilling picture of her calculated murders and the defense attempting to cast doubt on the evidence. The courtroom was gripped by the chilling details of each murder, the meticulous planning, the cold-blooded execution. The prosecution detailed how Jolly, a woman of average intelligence, had managed to deceive doctors, police, and even her own family members. They highlighted her cunning manipulation, her ability to weave intricate lies, and her relentless pursuit of wealth and power. The defense, on the other hand, argued that the evidence was circumstantial and that there were reasonable doubts about Jolly's guilt. They pointed to inconsistencies in the investigation and questioned the reliability of the witnesses. The primary motive behind Jolly Joseph's heinous crimes was a toxic mix of greed and ambition. She was driven by a desire for wealth and power, specifically the family's property and the freedom to pursue her extramarital affair with Shaju. To achieve her goals, she meticulously planned and executed each murder, ensuring that she would inherit the family's assets. By eliminating her husband and his family members, she paved the way for a life of luxury and freedom, unburdened by the constraints of societal norms and family obligations. This dark desire, coupled with her cunning intelligence and manipulative nature, made her a formidable adversary, capable of deceiving even the closest of family members. In the end, justice prevailed. Jolly Joseph was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. Her story serves as a chilling reminder of the dark side of human nature and the lengths to which people will go to satisfy their greed and ambition. Awful coffee. Melody Ficano Johnson, a 39-year-old woman from Arizona, was arrested for allegedly trying to poison her husband, Roby Johnson, by putting bleach in his coffee. Shockingly, despite Roby's clear video evidence, Melody managed to avoid prison for her actions. Roby, an active US Air Force member, first noticed his coffee tasted strange while stationed in Germany with Melody. The couple was going through a divorce but still lived together, creating a tense environment. Roby began to suspect Melody might be trying to poison him, possibly to collect on his life insurance, so he installed hidden cameras around their home. He also tested the coffee machine water with pool chemical strips, revealing high chlorine levels. The footage captured Melody pouring bleach into a container in the laundry room and then transferring it to the coffee machine. Though suspicious, Roby pretended to drink the coffee while gathering evidence. Back in the US, Roby upgraded to higher quality cameras, which caught Melody in the act again. He reported her to Tucson police, but the initial video was considered inconclusive. After gathering additional footage, Melody was finally arrested. A search warrant revealed a strong bleach odor from the coffee machine, reinforcing the case against her. Initially facing attempted first-degree charges, Melody later pleaded guilty to 2 counts related to contaminating her husband's coffee. Although she faced up to 4 years in prison, Roby surprisingly requested leniency, saying he didn't want her imprisoned. Ultimately, Melody received only 3 years of probation, along with mandatory mental health treatment. She had already spent nearly a year in custody, unable to post her $250,000 bond, a period Roby likely considered punishment enough. Still, it's hard not to wonder, why would she use such a recognizable, strong-smelling substance if she wanted to avoid detection? Not that we're experts in crime, but her approach certainly wasn't discreet. At the end of the day, we're just relieved Melody wasn't more skilled in her attempt. Belle Gunness, the Black Widow of the Midwest. Belle Gunness, known as the Black Widow of the Midwest, is one of the most infamous female serial killers in American history. Born as Brynhild Paulsdatter Størset in Norway in 1859, she emigrated to the United States in pursuit of a better life. Belle settled in Chicago, Illinois, where her journey of murder and deception would begin. Belle married her first husband, Mads Sorensen, in 1884, and they had a tumultuous relationship marked by frequent quarrels. The couple owned a candy store, which mysteriously burned down, allowing them to collect a sizable insurance payout. Shortly after, Sorensen died suddenly on the one day his 2 life insurance policies overlapped, raising suspicions. Despite the odd timing, the cause of his death was recorded as heart failure, and Belle was free to collect the insurance money. She then used her newfound wealth to buy a farm on the outskirts of LaPorte, Indiana. It was on this Indiana farm that Belle's horrifying spree truly escalated. She took out life insurance policies on her children, 2 of whom died under mysterious circumstances. The deaths were attributed to acute colitis, a diagnosis common at the time, even though the symptoms, severe nausea, fever, and abdominal pain, were consistent with poisoning. Belle collected more insurance money and buried her children on the property. In her quest for wealth, Belle began placing personal ads in Chicago newspapers, inviting wealthy men to her farm with promises of love and companionship. Many suitors answered, bringing cash, jewelry, and other valuables. They would arrive, and within days, they would vanish, never to be seen again. Belle told neighbors that her guests had returned home or moved west, but rumors of her strange behavior and the frequent arrivals of men continued to spread. Over the years, she accumulated a significant amount of money through these disappearances, always undeterred by suspicion. In 1908, Belle's luck seemed to be running out. After an argument with her hired hand, Ray Lamphere, he was dismissed. Belle reported him to the authorities, claiming he was a danger to her and her children, seeking further protection. But shortly after this confrontation, Belle's farmhouse burned to the ground in a sudden and catastrophic fire. When investigators combed through the wreckage, they found the charred remains of Belle's children. But the adult body, thought to be Belle's, was headless, and the size didn't match her large frame. The search of her property following the fire revealed a gruesome discovery. Several shallow graves around the farm, filled with dismembered bodies. Authorities uncovered at least 11 bodies, mostly male suitors, all likely murdered for their money. One victim was Andrew Helgelian, a Norwegian immigrant who had been searching for Bell when he vanished after bringing $3,000 to start a life with her. Bell's true fate remains a mystery to this day. Some believe that she faked her own death, murdering a woman who resembled her and setting the house on fire to escape detection. Reports of sightings of Bell surfaced across the country for years, though none were confirmed. Ray Lamphere, arrested for arson and murder, insisted in jail that Bell had planned everything and that she was alive, yet his claims were dismissed as unreliable. Belle Gunness became a figure of infamy in American crime history, her name synonymous with cold-hearted greed and manipulation. Known for her violent yet methodical killing tactics, she is thought to have killed at least 14 people, though some estimates go as high as 40. Her life and crimes left an indelible mark, turning her farm into a notorious site of horror and speculation, a place that forever etched the Black Widow of the Midwest into the annals of American folklore. Katherine Knight, Australia's most notorious female. Katherine Knight's story is one of the most disturbing and unforgettable criminal cases in Australian history. Born in 1955 in Tenterfield, New South Wales, she had a challenging upbringing in a home where arguments and instability were common. This background influenced her temperament, and over time Katherine developed a reputation for a volatile personality, often marked by intense relationships and occasional aggression. Katherine and John Price began dating in the late 1990s, after both had been in previous relationships. While Price was well liked in the community, Knight had developed a reputation for violence and manipulation. The relationship between Knight and Price quickly became volatile, marked by arguments and aggressive behavior on Katherine's part. At one point, she stabbed him in the chest after an argument, but he did not press charges. Eventually, though, Price became fearful for his life and filed a restraining order against Knight after she threatened him and his children. Nevertheless, they continued to see each other off and on, with Knight manipulating Price into taking her back multiple times, despite his family and friends warning him of the danger. On February 29, 2000, Katherine Knight entered John Price's home in Aberdeen, New South Wales. A violent altercation ensued, resulting in Price's tragic death. Following the incident, Knight committed disturbing acts, including the mutilation of Price's body. She then decapitated him, cooking parts of his body in a twisted attempt to serve his remains as a meal to his children. The crime scene was so gruesome that seasoned detectives were visibly disturbed by what they saw. The details of Knight's actions shocked even the most experienced forensic professionals. After committing the murder, she took a large number of pills in what was believed to be a failed suicide attempt, leading police to find her unconscious at the scene. She was promptly taken into custody, and a psychological evaluation revealed that Knight had borderline personality disorder, which contributed to her impulsive and violent behavior. Nonetheless, her actions were deemed intentional, and she was found fit to stand trial. In October 2001, Katherine Knight pleaded guilty to the murder of John Price, sparing the need for a trial. Her crime was so severe that the judge made an unprecedented decision. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, marking her as the first woman in Australia's history to receive this sentence. The judge described her actions as appalling and beyond human comprehension. She is currently held at Silver Water Women's Correctional Centre, where she remains to this day. Knight's crime has left an indelible impact on Australia, not only for its gruesome nature, but also as a case study in extreme domestic violence and psychological disorders. Her story has inspired books, documentaries, and discussions about the darker side of human nature and the warning signs of violent personalities. Katherine Knight's case remains a chilling reminder of how unchecked violence and untreated mental illness can culminate in a tragedy of horrific proportions. Susan Smith. Susan Smith is an infamous figure in American criminal history, known for a tragic case that shocked the nation in the 1990s. Her story is one of desperation, manipulation, and ultimately, heartbreak. Born on September 26, 1971, in Union, South Carolina, Susan grew up in a turbulent household. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother struggled with mental health issues, which affected Susan's upbringing. As she entered her teenage years, Susan faced difficulties that led to low self-esteem and a troubled social life. In her late teens, she became pregnant and gave birth to a son, whom she named David. While she initially tried to raise him, she eventually put him up for adoption. By the time she was in her 20s, Susan had become a single mother of 2 young children, Michael, age 5, and Alex, age 3. In a strained economic situation and feeling overwhelmed, Susan began a relationship with a man named Tom Finley. However, this relationship was rocky and ultimately unfulfilling, leaving Susan feeling isolated and desperate. On October 25, 1994, in an attempt to escape her circumstances and start anew, Susan devised a shocking plan. She wanted to claim insurance money to provide for herself and her children. That evening, she drove her 2 sons to a nearby lake, where she planned to create a scenario in which they would be kidnapped. She subsequently claimed that a carjacker had taken her children. After an into action, Susan reported her sons missing, leading to a massive search effort that captivated the public and media attention. She appeared on television, tearfully pleading for the safe return of her children. Her emotional pleas garnered widespread sympathy, and the community rallied around her during the search. However, as the investigation progressed, detectives began to notice inconsistencies in Susan's story. After several days of searching, the bodies of Michael and Alex were discovered in the submerged vehicle. The boys had drowned, leading authorities to suspect foul play. As detectives continued their investigation, they uncovered evidence that contradicted Susan's claims. They learned that she had made several statements that didn't add up, and that she had been experiencing significant financial strain. Under pressure from investigators, Susan ultimately confessed to the truth. She admitted to intentionally allowing her car to roll into the lake with her children inside, claiming she had intended to kill herself and her sons due to her overwhelming sense of hopelessness. In 1995, Susan Smith was charged with 2 counts of murder. Her trial began in 1996 and attracted intense media scrutiny. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence of Susan's troubled mental state and financial struggles, while the defense argued that she was a victim of her circumstances and mental health issues. On July 22, 1995, Susan was found guilty of 2 counts of murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a decision that reflected the gravity of her actions. The case left an indelible mark on American society, raising discussions about mental health, the pressures of single motherhood, and the consequences of extreme desperation. Want more wild stories? Click on the next video for even more absurd tales.